always here with another edition of Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs, and I'm not alone, of course. I'm here with my co-host, Sean Taggart. How you doing, Sean?
Good. Kind of a quiet weekend in independent wrestling, but don't worry, we'll be pretty busy this weekend.
Yeah, you had to sleep last weekend. This past weekend was literally the calm before the storm. This is where you got your 9 to 10 hours of sleep, because over the next few days it's just going to be absolutely crazy. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Independent wrestling. That's what we do here on Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs. Second episode, we came. What a rousing start. We start 2 weeks ago, and we say every week we'll be back. And then what happens last week? I get sick. You get sick.
We all get sick.
It's crazy. Thankfully, nothing serious, right? Just like it. You know what it reminded me of, Sean? Reminded me that you could get sick from other things than COVID. You know?
Yeah. Oh, you have the flu? What?
Yeah.
No.
What?
Sore throat, allergies? What's that?
Didn't we eradicate the flu in 69? And I said 69 on purpose, just to...
Nice.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this new episode of the Independent Wrestling review and chit-chat show that happens here on the youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes Show channel. Also on your favorite podcast application as well, on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. So thank you very much, and we appreciate it a great deal. And, you know, it's a stark contrast, right? Because as much as our first episode was just like wild, there was tons of stuff. It was a really busy weekend that we were covering. Now we're entering into a whole different territory. So tonight, we are going to cover a couple of shows that Sean and I did watch, but we are also going to break down what we're looking forward to this WrestleMania weekend, because there is a lot of stuff. There is tons of stuff.
And you won't be able to watch it all unless you're really excited for multi-screen and you can handle watching 4 shows at once. I can't.
I don't even like. That's the thing. Like, you're gonna have to do some kind of simultaneous weird. What if you're like, a fly? What do they call? You know, flies. Their eyes. What's that term that they have? Because flies can see like all around. Like their eyes are divided in a way that they receive information from all these different like hexagons. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm not a bugologist.
Clearly not.
No. All right.
You just went right for bug. Not an insectologist. I would have given you that. There's a couple of more syllables on that one, but...
Yeah, I just went for the easy one.
Well, let's go right ahead then and start talking about this weekend in pro wrestling. So look at this. We have DGMC, who is with us in the chat. We've got a couple of people hanging on the chat tonight. DGMC is with us. DGMC is a member for 23 months of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Using his announcement saying, excited to see Warren and Sean Rossap go over hard at GCW. Sean stole my booking in the clusterfuck.
He stole everyone's booking. I don't think. I think he broke the bank on that one.
Yeah.
Wonder what his booking fee for that was.
Yeah, I was probably charging a little too much. I was probably charging like just a wee too much. You know,
Sean was much cheaper.
Yeah, it was probably the requests for cold sparkling water that had Brett go, no way, I'm done with this guy.
Canadian brand too, I'm sure.
There you go. Thank you very much, DGMC. And thank you to 5th Generation Carney Joseph and Ultimate Sports Talk for joining us as well. Let's go right ahead. Let's start talking about the couple of shows that we watched this weekend. I actually went to C4 Wrestling based out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It's about a 4.5 hour drive from where I reside. And you were able to catch it on IWTV.live earlier today, right?
Yeah, it dropped, I guess, overnight, early in the morning. So it was nice to see that show.
It
And
was their first show really returning. They had a show in 2021. They held a show, with restrictions, not as many people. This was their first like full-blown show, and they were really advertising it as such as well. Very excited to have all those tons of people back, and there was like, I'd say 450, 500 people.
that's a good amount.
Yeah, and people really love C4 wrestling out there in Ottawa, and that was nice to see as well. And like I said, it was, and look, it was cool for me too. This was my first live show that I seen since the pandemic. The last one I caught was in March 2020. Is that when it started? Like just before,
Yeah, right around then. Yeah,
just before the pandemic hit, we had a femme fatale show right here where I actually got to chat with Mercedes Martinez there. So that's still a fantastic memory right there. The C4 show, Fantastic Voyage, opened up with Joshua Bishop and Benjamin Tull, who were scheduled to face each other one-on-one. But straight out the gate, first match of the night, we get a huge surprise. Stu Grayson, AEW's own, born and bred to fight, right? That's his thing, right? I think born and bred to.
I think so. Yeah,
like Dark Order showed up he wasn't announced, he wasn't advertised, so that was a huge surprise straight off the bat. That got people really excited. He, of course, picked up the win in a really dynamic opener. Then we had Marcus Mathers taking on Daniel Maccabee.
I love Maccabee.
Right?
One thing to note. I mean, it's funny. He's from British Columbia. He's on the other side of Canada.
Correct.
Makes most of his work down in the Southeast for like Action, Sup. Did stuff in the Pacific Northwest with 321 Battle when they were active right before the pandemic. So it's nice to see him wrestle, and it's also a really nice treat for everyone up in Canada who isn't fully familiar with Marcus Mathers to get a chance to really look at him closely for the first time.
Marcus Mathers or Daniel Maccabee?
Mathers. I brought up Mathers at the end,
okay,
but it's also good for both.
Absolutely, because you could tell that being there live, you could tell that not a lot of people knew who either of these guys were, but they put on a very solid technical match, very grounded, of course, which is Maccabee's style, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of make you. I was looking at the match, and I was like, okay, it kind of makes you wonder why he isn't mixing it up more with more people out in in the US, going throughout, heading into the US and working with the usual suspects. Why haven't we seen him against Garcia when he was still out fooling around out there all that much? Why wasn't he in higher profile matches? Because he's like 37 years old, something like that. Like he's got some years behind him. It was fantastic to see. I thought it was a very solid match.
And I think it really also showed how well-rounded Mathers has become. I would say a couple years ago, Mathers would have gotten eaten alive by Maccabee, but I think he handled himself pretty well in this match. He didn't look out of element. And I think that's just a lot of testament for him as he's growing into a strong competitor, really getting himself out there more. Past couple of years, not only just because of the pandemic, but he was more grounded between H2O and like GCW. But it's nice seeing him now go out to shows in Canada, making the trips out to LA and doing stuff like that, making himself more noticeable. And I think, one of the major things is you're going to see a lot of him this weekend, Mathers. Yeah. I wish we were seeing Maccabee this weekend, but
I guess it has to be a thing with travel visas. There's got to be there's something that is keeping Maccabee from crossing the border. Anyway, it was a good match, fun little match here. Then we had the main event versus the Philly Marino Experience, and one of the crowd favorite Puff with a mystery opponent. He had actually come to the ring and he said, I started making some calls, to some of my friends. Called Eddie Kingston, he says. Kingston told me, I'm on Rampage, man. And I was like, Rampage taped. He's working you, Puff. We brought out Pretty Ricky Wildy, who is a Canadian independent wrestler based out of Brampton, Ontario, and this was essentially, feel good, light comedy match, but was still filled with some fantastic spots, particularly I find from the boys of the main event.
Yeah, main event is Amazing Red Train, so I mean you're not surprised to see them get some influence off of them. It was also nice seeing PME Philly Marino Experience, mostly out of the Ohio area from Absolute Intense Wrestling AIW, trained by Gargano and Candice LeRae. So there was a very good mix of styles, but all three teams, you could tell they were having fun in the ring together, and that brought that energy out to the crowd, which also felt that excitement and joy as this match went on.
This was exactly what it was. Like, it was just a good time party. I mean, Puff was involved. That's all you need.
Who doesn't love Puff?
Who doesn't love Puff? The Femme Fatales Championship was defended champion Alexia Nicole retained her title against challenger Willow Nightingale, who showed up. And I mean, everything they say about Willow Nightingale is true when you see her live. She commands the room. She's got this crazy, just infectious charisma. You want to watch her. You look at her. Everything. And here's the thing. And I had a chance to chat with her at the merch table after the match, and I told her to a certain degree, over the past 18 months, I don't think there's a wrestler who has improved more overall than she has. I think, dropping her tag team, I think was a good idea. Focusing on her singles career, she has exploded into an extremely well-rounded, confident singles wrestler. And I told her essentially, makes you proud to be a fan of yours, Willow. And she's sort of, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nose with Willow. I think her getting rid of her tag partner really. Unfortunately, with Solo, she's injured, and who knows how long she's going to be out for. She's still recovering from the injury. But I think that was a blessing in disguise for her.
I think so too.
Just because, she's a regular on Beyond and Wrestling Open, and she's really showcased herself to be one of the aces of that company. She's really honed in on her craft a little bit, gotten a lot stronger. The pounds that she hit, that crowd went wild for it. Loved it.
Just blew the roof off the place. And here's the thing, going against Alexia Nicole, Canadian independent stalwart, smaller lady than Willow, like in all ways. So she flew when she took the pounds. Like, she just rocketed, which made it all the more impressive. And it was nice to see Alexia Nicole as well. I hadn't seen her wrestle in quite a while. I know, during the pandemic, everything slowed down, and the Canadian scene during the pandemic was virtually non-existent. As much as some of the independents in America, in the United States, tried to keep up and do their best to at least create stuff, in Canada it was just like a flat line. So it was good to see her back out there, and she as well is another wrestler who's come a long way and is extremely solid. This was a good, solid women's match. Enjoyed that as well. Josh Alexander defeated Myung Jae Lee which was my match of the night, Sean.
Mine too.
What
Oh god.
what an absolute beating Lee took. It was crazy.
Yeah. And I remember us talking about this initially, prior as we were preparing for the show, as this reminded you of the Ruby Soho Josh Alexander match from AEW.
Absolutely.
And it did. I mean, you saw Josh throw around Ruby like it was nothing. He did the same thing with Lee. It was a very good match. And I think, it showcased Lee as somebody who will be the underdog. I heard of him first when I went to an IW interspecies wrestling show at Williamstown when they did the 1,000 million blacks match in October. So like he was there for like their food fight battle royal, and this is the first time I saw him. And in that battle royal, I was impressed with just like how stiff his strikes were and everything. Like he brought it to Alexander, but Alexander just like threw him around like it was nothing.
It was a question. The story that we're telling here is that Lee was outclassed. It's just as simple. Like Lee showed all the great qualities of a top babyface, working from beneath, trying hard to get the hope spots, but is completely outclassed by a wrestler who is world class, who is undeniably one of the best out there. And everyone takes Josh Alexander seriously. That's the thing, right? And even if he comes in and he played the role of a heel, I guess, he's just being himself in a way where he's like, I'm just gonna beat you, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's his.
Yeah, he
that's
was there to
essentially
beat
what
him
it was.
up. That was it.
It was really, really good. And Lee, this match worked because Lee's stature, because much shorter than Alexander, and of course not as buff built as him as well. He was able to convey that desperate babyface energy so well that the hope spots mattered. People got behind them. They were booing Josh Alexander, which I didn't understand. It's like, he's one of ours. He's Canadian. What are you doing? But no, just a fantastic, brutal match. That was just a massacre that is thoroughly enjoyable. I loved it. Next, we had the Scramble, where Jody Threat, Gabriel Fuerza, Cecil Nix, McCray Martin, Tariq, and Kobe Durst all went after each other in a wild affair.
Oh yeah.
And look, Sean, when we started talking about independent wrestling, just between us, I tell you, when GCW put on Scrambles, I'm not a fan of Scrambles, and I'm still not. But this was really fun.
Scrambles, I think we talked about this too. Scrambles are a little bit different when you're there because you feed off the energy of the crowd a little bit. And this one wasn't really like your normal scramble where they were setting up for spots. They had some doors in the ring. I do like C4 had like painted like very nice doors with like the wrestlers on there. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the main event, but it was nice to see some of like it wasn't just a plain door. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Hard to follow, but I think it's different when you're there.
I think it probably is. I don't know if I'm softening on Scrambles. I don't know. But no, this was a lot of fun.
I'm sure by this weekend you'll be tired of them again.
Well, I'm already not looking forward to the clusterfuck if that's something.
Yeah.
But look, this was thoroughly enjoyable. Jody Threat just doing Jody Threat things. Everyone shined in this match. Everyone had great opportunities to shine. I really liked it. Did anything stand out for you in this match?
It was great to see Kobe Durst back in the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the show in Freelance back in February that he made a magical appearance against GPA, but he's been kind of like missing in action since the pandemic. Also good to see Cecil Nix again, interspecies wrestling original. Nice to see him back out there. So
we had a number one contendership match for the C4 championship. Speedball Mike Bailey, by the way, still current champion. Biff Busick and Kevin Blackwood went at it. I mean, pretty much what you would have expected from this match right here, wouldn't you say, Sean?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Blackwood's again proving himself as, the Buffalo brother to not, forget about. I feel like a lot of people have kind of put him on the back seat ever since Garcia got signed to AEW, but he, like I said, he moved out to LA, reinvented himself, really put a focus on a lot of things, and has come off looking better because of it. And this was another example of Blackwood looking great.
I think it's a good opportunity to run it. Excuse me. It's a good environment right now to run an emo gimmick, and he does it really, really well. And on top of that, he's a fantastic wrestler, and absolutely, like, you I think even for a while, he might have been a little deflated seeing Garcia getting signed,
right,
and all his buddies getting all this attention. He's like, hey, you know what? I was in that car accident too, guys, kind of thing.
Not only that, but you could tell even when he showed up to what's it called, to Dark a few times with Garcia in the early going, the focus was mainly on Garcia. And I think, that even you saw the boo-boo face on him from the beginning with that.
But I mean, can you blame him? That's the thing. It's like, at some point,
it's the competitor's edge. He wants to be just as good as, the next guy. And I mean, a good chance to prove himself against Biff, who's been really on fire since returning to the independents.
We're not done talking about Biff Busick tonight. Like,
no.
This guy decided to hit the ground running.
And very busy this weekend.
Jesus. Because Biff rules. Let's not forget that. I tried to get a Biff fucking rules chant going, but
no one was into it.
It has to be a New England thing. I don't know.
They did like his theme though. So
the theme is super over. Yes, because there was a whole contingent of in the audience that were chanting it instead of doing Biff fucking rules. You got to teach these people everything, Sean. Jesus.
First timers.
I know. And the main event was the C4 Tag Team Championship match. The Tabarnak de Team, TBT, the champs. One of the members of Tabarnak de Team, namely Thomas Dubois, if you prefer. I'm pulling out my French Canadian because these guys are the most French Canadian tag team I have seen in a long. They're more French Canadian than the Quebecers were.
I believe it.
Trust me.
I can believe it. Just like looking at them.
My God, and the music they come out to, a very French. Michel Pagliaro is the name of the rock artist that they come out to. A guy who came up during the 70s. Anyway, look. One of the members, Thomas Dubois, was out. So in replacement to join Mathieu Saint-Jacques to defend the titles was another Quebec legend, Lufisto, who was on location and had tweeted out, I'm missing a booking tonight. If you guys want to come see me at the merch table, that'd be great, And I go to see her because I've chatted with her a few times, and she, she's in her hoodie and whatnot, and she looks a little downtrodden and says, oh, she's really sad, because she's missing out on her booking. I feel bad that, but then she shows up and says, I got worked.
You got worked pretty good.
Yeah, hardcore, because she wasn't injured. She worked fine. Took on Violence is Forever, one of my favorite fucking tag teams out there. And Kevin Koo and Dominic Guarini actually won the whole thing and are your new C4 Tag Team Champions.
Just collecting belts wherever they go.
Kevin Koo on top of that, man. He's got the Action Championship on top of that. Like our boys, he's just collecting everything. Now, I was there live. Right. And it was chaos.
It looked like chaos on the stream. Like it was hard to keep up just because the camera was trying to figure out, should we stay with Guarini? Should we go with Koo and Lufisto? It was just all over the place. Like was barely in the ring in the early going.
I caught most of the action from Saint Jacques and Carini because they were literally fighting right next to me. And Saint Jacques even did a really funny spot where he started feeding chips to Carini from the snack station. So that was a lot. Like that whole part, complete chaos. But even when they returned to the ring, doors everywhere. There was shit everywhere, and I think this is they pulled out a particularly special door, upon which was painted the likenesses of Kevin Koo and Dominic Garrini, which was pretty dope.
I did enjoy seeing Dom put his head through the door after smashing Saint Jacques through the door earlier, just picking up the other piece and slamming his head through. He
I'll
was
tell you one
really feeling
thing.
himself.
I'll tell you one thing. Like the TBT are extremely over in Quebec, and you understand why. These guys are very accomplished wrestlers, and they're super charismatic, right? Like they have this thing down pat. I was, there's a bit of a duality, right? In Ontario and Quebec, we don't necessarily always get along, and so on and so forth. There's a bit of a long-standing English versus French thing going on, but these boys are over in our nation's capital. Something fierce. It was like clear cut who the heels here were. I was the only guy openly cheering for Koo and Guarini when they were holding the titles up. Just great stuff. A really chaotic, crazy main event that we got here.
It was a lot of fun, and I mean, the action didn't stop there because Saturday, Black Label Pro from Crown Point, Indiana, presented In the Fights. Such a good show from top to bottom. And we'll start off with the opener, which was Cody Lane and Devin Monroe. It was good to see both of them back in BLP. Cody is actually big on the Midwest Glory Pro. He does a lot of stuff there. He actually has a big match coming up this weekend against Dan the Dad at Glory Pro Show. And Devon Monroe, who doesn't, Devon just gets a big pop wherever he goes. This was a good short opener. Cody did get the victory here. It was. And one thing throughout the show and was nice to see was Trevor Outlaw, who's out with an ACL injury, making himself known and heard throughout the show. Playing up the heel stick, annoying J Rose any chance he got. He was big into that in early going here. I mean, for an opener, not bad. I mean, these guys really brought the energy, brought out the excitement. I was really, ready for, and it set the tone of the show. Which is a big thing for the opener.
I think there's a lot to like in Devin Monroe. Would you think that if again, like sometimes I just wonder, like there's guys and gals out there that I look at, I'm like, why aren't we seeing these people more like on the triple I indies? I don't want to say triple A, and then
triple, yeah. It's a very good question.
Maybe it's travel. It just just the fact that you have to, because the Midwest is a good breeding ground. But if you're not hitting Chicago, it's you're not on that echelon yet.
Yeah, it's a very good question because Devon should be hitting those triple independents, as you put it. I mean, he makes the occasional appearance for freelance in Chicago. But I mean, at the same time, too, he's primarily booking himself or getting booked in First Wrestling out of Minnesota. So he's been he gets there a lot. I think he's their current one of their current champions over there. So it's just an interesting look. What he does get booked, he puts on a show, and that's really all that matters. Another person who puts on a show are actually two people. The Battle of the Dans, Dan Champion and Dan the Dad. Obviously, two very different, gimmicks here. Dan Champion is like your jock, while obviously Dan the Dad's your dad. And who doesn't love a good dad? And this match right here was your comedy match of the show. I think the Dan's putting in their spots very well. Dan the Dad hitting the belt spot quite early in the match, to the point where Dan Champion got mad and broke his glasses. So he was working blind. But I mean, this brought a different energy out in the show. Lighthearted, everyone was into it. I would consider this like that triple threat tag match in C4, where everyone was having fun. But at the same time, too, there was some serious wrestling going on. Both guys are very good wrestlers. Dan the Dad just really got over with this Ethan Page gimmick that he was given.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like both these. I like both these guys. I didn't watch technically not even technically. I did not watch the show at all. So we're following Sean's lead here. Still, I'm excited to see what the post WrestleMania weekend is going to look like for these guys, especially Dan the Dad. But like. Yeah, I think Dan the Dad at the same time he came up during an era where there was a lot of how would you call them irony wrestlers,
Meme wrestlers, yeah.
Like for Orange Cassidy being the most successful one of the bunch, the only one who still survives. I think it's a trend that's kind of past. I don't think it's as people are leaning into it as hard as they once were. Into people who do a lot of wink wink nudge nudge stuff is what I mean essentially by irony wrestlers, right? So I think Dan is still part of that.
Yeah, I think he's one of the only ones left if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like Warhorse plays off of that every now and then,
but he's not as on the nose as he was, right?
Right. Effie leans into it when he needs to. He doesn't do it all the time either anymore.
No, he's buckled down as well.
Yeah, Allie Katch is more of a serious wrestler. She took off her whiskers. Danhausen was your other one, and now look at him too. I mean, he's on the bigger stage now. So yeah, Dan the Dad's really the only one that has stuck with it because it's brought him the most success. Obviously, he gets booked pretty much up and down the Midwest. He has his own promotion. He books Glory Pro, but he's in, freelance underground, BLP a lot. So he gets his bookings and, he does a very good job with what he does. I mean, Dan Champion too. Dan's actually been getting out a lot more. He's been piggybacking off of Avery Good because I think he's there like driving buddies for shows just because this is Avery's swan song, so to speak, in wrestling. But it's nice to see him getting out in areas that he normally wouldn't be booked because he was more of your Northeast Pennsylvania guy. Speaking of more Northeast people making a name for themselves, Abby Jane and Pancakes, originally trained on the Chikara School, then taken in by Cheeseburger, take on the Bang Bros, August Matthews and Davey Bang, freelance Academy originals. This was a fun match. I mean, here I feel like Abby has some work to do. I mean, she really came along at pretty much the end of Chikara. She started out as a correspondent with Chikara, like doing like interviews and stuff. But Cheeseburger took her in, and she's improved a lot. Part of that Camp Leapfrog team, high tension wrestling. So she's gone, her looks there, primarily tagging with her partner Abs usually. But it was good to see her out here, getting a look. But I feel like she has a ways to go. Pancakes has some Lucha influence in him, so it was nice to see him float around the ring a little bit. But really, the Bang Bros, Matthews and Bang, were the ones to really watch here. Sure. I think they're on a cusp of a breakout in terms of getting away from freelance and spreading their wings a little bit.
I agree. Yeah. What was the show they were on recently?
It was probably one of the freelance shows.
No, exactly. I did see them. Yeah, that's right. 2 weekends ago, the freelance show. I can't remember the name, but it was on the Friday. It's just completely slipping my mind. The one that where it was on that one. I'm completely drawing the blank.
Did they face Kylie and well, it was a tag match. Yeah, it was Kylie. Yeah, and Paco Gonzalez, I think.
Let me look real.
I know who you're talking about, though. Hold
But
on.
yes, that's exactly the match that that they were in. Exactly, exactly that. Yeah, no, it's all I remember is that Frank the Clown was on the show, and that
Twice.
just
It was
bums
way
me
too many
out.
times. Yeah. It was. Oh, I'm sorry. They faced Levi Cruz and Riley Jackson, the Bang Bros, and yes,
Oh
on
right,
that show.
okay. So who did Kylie and I don't know.
Kenny Alfonso and Kylie went for the
Kenny
tag
Alfonso?
titles against the Ticket Home Wreckers
There you go.
on that show. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see them get out of the freelance bubble, so to speak, because I feel like they have a lot of upside. You see them also appear on the occasional Zalo Pro show every now and then, just because they're in the area and stuff like that. We jump into our next match, go to Calvin Takeman and Levi Everett. Here's another guy, Levi Everett, who goes hard into his character. An Amish man churning the butter to begin his match, and everybody loves when he starts churning. One thing about Levi though is he hits hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just delivering headbutts like they were nothing. And Tankman is a tank in himself, pun intended. But it's good seeing Tankman still, remember his roots. Still, he's in MLW now, but he's pretty much still taking over the independent scene within Paradigm and also BLP. As we remember, really the last time we saw Tankman was after that heartbreaking defeat to Jake Something for the BLP title right after he beat Eric Stevens. Um, Levi picked up the win here, which was a surprise after
Yeah.
just bashing some forearms to the head of Calvin and ref stoppage. Um, but yeah, no, Levi is a very interesting wrestler. Like he's very good. It's just that character is just so fantastic. I love the Amish character a lot
Then we
here.
had the BLP heavyweight title match, right?
Yeah, so Kevin Blackwood gets an opportunity here to take on the champion, Jake Something. This was, a hard-hitting match. Jake is the powerhouse in himself, so he was delivering the power moves. I think, overmatching and overpowering Kevin, but Kevin was the very much more technical. In the beginning of the match, it definitely worked in the pace of Blackwood, but by
Mm-hmm.
the time that the match, progressed and stuff, Something was getting more into his power moves, really taking Blackwood out. Obviously, Jake Something retained here, but it was a very good match. It was a short match, quick and to the point. But I mean, honestly, like we were here for this next match, and this was my match of the night. This was for the Midwest title number one contendership. Avery Good, a professional wrestler, and I gotta admit, at first I was very annoyed with him coming out to that the Best of You song by the Foo Fighters and just repeating the best over and over again. But I mean, with what happened this weekend, it was nice hearing
Sure.
the song play. Kevin Koo just, belts upon belts upon belts. He wanted to add another one to his collection. This was a very good technical match here. Um, Both of them worked each other's legs in this match. Avery a little bit more focused on one of the arms, but was also focusing on the leg. Koo here, I mean, Koo just looks like $1,000,000. Between him and Greeny, I like, Koo has, I think, a little bit higher upside as a singles competitor.
I think so too.
Um, just because more so he gets out more as a singles, whereas Greeny sticks to AIW. He's a coach there, so
Mm-hmm.
he sticks around there and does the singles run there. But I mean, one of the storylines is can Ku wrestle as a singles competitor? Avery Good was reminding him that he's a tag team wrestler, and Ku was reminding him he's the action champion. So yes, he can wrestle as a singles competitor. Ku did pick up the victory and will face Filthy Tom in the main event, which was a good match, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's talk about Billy Starks here.
Because she faced Rachel Ellering.
Yeah, she faced Rachel Ellering, and it was a very good match. And we've talked about Billy. We talked about Billy the first episode, how she emotes well, how she brings you in and makes you believe with every move that gets hit. Like you feel the pain that she feels, and we felt the pain here as she was going for a swanton. She Ellering rolled out of the way. She crashed and burned, and then the match stopped everyone got nervous. Everyone got scared because Billie looked like she hurt her neck.
Mm.
Um, you know, I'm not a fan of these spots just because, it comes to the point where you're watching a match and someone really does get hurt and you're like,
It's a work.
yeah, I don't believe you. Get
Yeah.
up. And they're not getting up. You're like, oh. But I mean, in the case of this, it looks like Rachel is really like concerned. She's talking to Mouse, who's over there taking pictures and everything like that, talking,
Billy's
making
dad.
sure she's okay. Billy's dad, yes. Making sure she's okay and everything. And as we see Rachel leaving the ring, pops Billy and hits a capture dragon to get the 3 count.
Is
And then she puts the "You People" promo
there
on
you go.
everybody to let everyone know that she never needed the fans. And now she's a bully. We got
Bully,
bully Starks here.
Bully Starks. Um, yeah, we talked about, like you said, we talked about her on the first episode, and here we are again. I think it's a good move for her to sort of heal it up a little bit. Stretch her legs, try some different stuff out. Stop being the young girl in pro wrestling. No, she wants to be something else. And I can get behind that, doing the heel thing. I'm a big Billy Starks guy. I think
Oh,
she's
I am too.
fantastic.
One of her goals is to get booked next year for Bloodsport. So this is a good start.
So this will be a very good start. And yeah, and we were talking about how has she started watching Joshi tapes, right? Because her gear is sort of Joshi inspired. She's her kicks seem a lot stronger. Like you said, she did like a trap dragon suplex, right, for the win. A very Japanese move. It's like, look, I'm here, completely here for heel Billy Starks going full on insane Joshi. Like, look, if she's watching Starlight Kid tapes, I'm cool with that. Let her go all out and just be a complete dastardly shit out there. I'm completely
I
fine.
would love that. I mean, let's get her. One thing also to notice with her too is how she would always start her matches like going in like this, like
Sure.
almost like she was like a video game fighter. She's much more relaxed now, and she it's much more realistic of how she's locking up and going into things. So I mean, she has improved every month since last year's collective in Tampa,
Crazy.
and
Just
it's
crazy.
crazy just the insane like 180 she's took. Finally, we get this match that was supposed to be part of uh, Castlevania or WrestleVania, whatever they call it, the BLP show in Tampa. We get Shazza McKenzie and Warhorse finally. And I mean, at the same time too, it's good to see Shazza back in the state. It's good to see her, get that redemption run. 2 years since she's last been in the states, so she's getting a lot of time and booked pretty much everywhere during
Yeah.
the few months that she's going to be
She
here.
done
So it was
good.
good to see her. She's improved a lot since we last saw her. Warhorse, and we've talked about Warhorse too. He's gotten more serious and more honed in on his craft ever since joining Davey Richards and Team Ambition, moving himself to the Missouri area to get proper training and really hone in and become more of a serious wrestler. Really, after Cody outworked him during that one TNC
Yeah.
title match.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was a really good match. I mean, this was a straight up wrestling match. I think if we saw this match at WrestleMania weekend when we were supposed to, this would have been more of a comedy match. But this was a straight up wrestling match, and it was good to see because I think Warhorse is still trying to prove himself as more of a true professional wrestler than what he was. And while he's still coming out with the face paint and his gimmick and head banging, he's after when that bell rings, he's just a totally different character.
I feel like he's slowly transitioning. Like, he will have a couple of haha spots, that he'll,
Mm-hmm.
but he won't lean as heavily into the Ultimate Warrior pastiche that he once was. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And then we go into our main event. It was for the Midwest title between Filthy Tom, your current champion, and Kevin Koo, teammates on Team Filthy and MLW when they were in a MLW together. They will be teaming up this WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, this was a really good match. I feel like when you see these two or anyone in the Team Filthy ranks face one another, you know what kind of match you're going to get. You're going to get a grounded match here. There wasn't really anything too exciting or really out of the ordinary for this match. A stalling suplex from Lawler gave him the victory here. He was holding up Ku for almost 90 seconds, so
Oh,
no
no.
way to kick out of that. It was a very long stall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we call it a stall then at that point, or is it a pause? Like, you
Yeah, I guess at this point it was a pausing suplex just because of how long it was. But
crazy.
honestly, there wasn't anything negative to say about this show. My match of the night was Avery Good and Kevin Koo, but you can also argue that the main event was also worth watching, and it is worth watching. But your match of the night, and that was BLP.
And look at that. The night before he was up in Ontario winning tag gold. The next night he's down in where was this?
Crown Point, Indiana.
In Indiana. Flies down to Indiana to fight twice and pulling double duty. Kevin Koo's the man, dude. He really is.
He is.
Well, as we said,
So I
sort of
guess, yeah.
sort of a slow weekend of independent wrestling. And well, I mean, I traveled at the same time, so I couldn't watch as much as I wanted. Plus, there was that New Japan Cup thing that I wanted to.
Never
catch
heard
up
of
on.
it. Never heard of it. Is it like the Super 8?
Okay, so we are going to talk about what's upcoming in a couple of days. We're having WrestleMania weekend 2022 under the shadow of WrestleMania 38, the most stupendous WrestleMania weekend of the. I don't know why anyone.
Wait,
didn't
hold
pick
on.
up
It's
this.
calling it stupendous.
What?
They're calling it stupendous.
You
WWE?
really don't watch the product. You're not even. You're not shitting on it.
I'm not trying to. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I watch it. I see what happens in your Discord and go.
So
Then go.
yes, it is the most. There's a bit of verbiage here. It is the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania in history. That's what it's called. The most
So it was
stupendous
last year.
2-night WrestleMania in history. It wasn't. I don't know what it was. It wasn't stupendous.
Hot garbage.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Like this is the third 2-night WrestleMania. The first one was in the pandemic.
That's
It was
right.
in the Thunderdome.
Yep.
Then they did it last year with a return of live audience, right? Got the live audience there, and then everyone was back for SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, the what did they call it? The Alliance Stadium, the Reliance Stadium, the AT&T Stadium, whatever.
AT&T, yeah.
The AT&T Stadium. Some people are really good with stadium names. They know all these, and I'm like, no, I know Madison Square Garden, the Tokyo Dome.
There you go. The ones that matter to you. The Forum.
The Cow Palace, is that still around?
It's a parking lot.
It's a park. Really? No.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh no. But hey, look. The point being is that WrestleMania shit this year, and we're gonna instead of we've already spent too much time on.
You don't need to listen to him on Thursday because he just gave you his WrestleMania preview here tonight.
Well, yeah, I'm still gonna have some fun on Thursday. If you want to come join me, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Subscribe today. We're going to talk about, we're going to sort of point to the matches, the shows, principally the shows, and maybe a couple of matches that we're really looking forward to this weekend. Shawn, why don't you start? What's one of yours that you're excited for?
Obviously, to kick off the weekend really with one of GCW's marquee events, Spring Break Night 1. I'm really excited for that whole event up and down.
Which is March 31st, this Thursday.
Yeah, this upcoming Thursday at 8 p.m. on Fight TV. I'm really looking forward to a couple matches from this. This will be your main event for the GCW Ultraviolet Championship, Alex Colon and John Wayne Murdoch. And then I can't, there's a lot of hubbub around this GCW World Title match between Mox and AJ Gray. a lot of, interesting rumblings about the what if after the collective weekend. So I'm interested in seeing what the direction GCW goes with the title post media weekend.
Oh, I see. Okay. What you're saying as an indication as to how GCW and AEW might be still partnering or not is what you're.
Yeah, my whole thing is I know, Rosa is getting pulled back a little bit from independent bookings in general just because she's the women's champion.
Sure.
What are their plans, going forward? I saw Swerve was pulled from the upcoming GCW California shows. Um, what's going on post Mania weekend?
Okay. Well, maybe it's just a little coincidence or not, but I think it would be like regardless of the status of the partnership, right? Whatever discussions Brett and Tony are having, I think it would be beneficial to have a champion who is more regularly available on GCW shows than Jon Moxley is, right? No disrespect at all to Jon Moxley or his body of work. It's just clearly he knows where his bread is buttered, and he probably charges a heftier fee than AJ Gray at the same time. So you don't see him quite as often. That's all I'm saying. I'm not calling him part-timer and so on and so forth. But I think moving forward in an era where maybe Nick Gage won't be doing the singles thing as much, right? Won't be carrying the company on his back as much. A guy like AJ Gray would be fantastic, right?
Right.
And on top of that, this match, Moxley and Gray, I mean, you just think about it in your mind and you already hear the slaps, right? You hear it. Big time match for AJ Gray. I'm excited for this. Why don't I do one? Now, you picked Spring Break Night 1 when we were talking about it, right? But you omitted Night 2. Like, you didn't mention Night 2.
Listen, I'm not into the clusterfuck.
Well, fair, because the clusterfuck I'm not into it either. But
there
listen,
are some decent,
pal, Night 2, Cardona and Dickinson. Matt Cardona, greatest heel on the independent circuit, right? Right now against Dirty Daddy making his comeback. What are you talking about? This is like up there, and we are getting the pinnacle of independent wrestling. This is Minoru Suzuki versus Effie in a match that I hope people gif the shit out of it, and I hope they post it all over Twitter so that all the miserable bastards who just look at the GIFs, don't understand the context, and don't watch the matches, I hope they all cry themselves to sleep. I hope they get mad until they get aneurysms. I hope Effie and Suzuki do a dick-sucking spot so that people will get mad. I really do. And Minoru Suzuki will be into it. He will be.
Have you seen
his... Has
anyone... Everyone who's complaining about this match has never seen any of his DDT work as recent as over the holidays this year with Brooks and Maki.
No, absolutely not. They have no idea. No idea. And on top of that, you're getting Biff Busick and Tony Deppen. To a certain degree, my dude, I'm more excited for Spring Break Night 2 than I am Night 1, despite the fact that you got Janela and X-Pac, you got Ali Catch and Mickey James on Night 1, which is super dope, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Night 2, but I know, look, hopefully they'll close with the clusterfuck, which is typically what they should.
It's going to be a long-winded match, and hopefully the wrestling journalist wins.
Or Jimmy Wang Yang. I want a Jimmy Wang Yang. He's in it.
Yeah, you don't want Maven to win? I
want a Jimmy Wang Yang redemption run. If Buff Bagwell, seriously, if Buff Bagwell is out there doing his redemption tour, hanging out with DDP, doing the yoga, I want Jimmy Wang Yang coming back to full-time competition. Are you kidding me? He'd be king of the Indies if he committed to it.
So let me ask you a question about Buff. Is that really him on Twitter?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And look, he like David Bixenspan vouched that it was him. So I trust Bix. Bix said pretty sure. He said he was pretty sure, and Biff wouldn't throw that out there if he wasn't. So I think it is.
That's fair.
I think he's got someone who's very savvy, showing him how it works, show him how to use.
Probably DDP.
Because DDP's a smart guy. There's but he's doing good. Except that T-shirt design that he got. Did you see it? Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. Ugh. It's all right. So you're really into the clusterfuck. We got
no. That's not what I said at all.
I know what you said. PCO and Mike Bailey. Really into that match. We'll go back a day to April 1st, and we'll talk about the late show that day, which is Planet Death, a all deathmatch show. Personally, I'm excited for Slade and Bam Sullivan. That's a feud that's played over of quite a few shows in JCW that's finally getting its violent end here at Planet Death. I think it's funny, though, that bright and early in the morning, Friday morning, they're going to be on the same team for Team JCW and versus Team LA Fights. So hopefully they get that out of the way pretty quickly here. Another one that I'm really interested in is Akira and Cole Radrick.
Sure.
Cole had a really good deathmatch subbing in for Alex Colon.
His coming out as a deathmatch guy.
So with Radrick, it's just him getting back into it, but on a more national level.
Okay.
If so to speak.
Done it before.
Yeah, he's done it before on smaller indies, but this is him getting more of a closer look in GCW. I think this is his run to their Tournament of Survival tournament in June. But yeah, Kira and Cole Radrick, another match to really look out for. I think there's a lot of exciting matches on this show. It looks like it's only like a 6-7 match show, so it should be quick. It's hosted by Nick Gage. Also, with all the collective shows, all these are available on Fight TV, by the way, if you're not going to be there in Dallas.
There you go. Why don't we talk about another one on my end? Effie's Big Gay Brunch on April 2. I know Effie's show is not for everyone. I know that. But I also think it's also, like, from when it started, it's also tightened up. You know what I mean? Like, it feels more put together than the first few times where it really felt, Effie inviting a bunch of people just to party, laugh, have a good time, But now it feels more and more like a wrestling show, and we've got, look, there's something to look forward to in Effie versus Pimpinella Escalata.
That's a very exciting match.
That's a big deal. That's a big
deal. I'm really interested in Ali Catch and Dango in one of Dango's final matches. As we all know, he's hanging up the boots pretty soon.
Going down that dusty trail.
Going to construction or whatever, because he's done a lot of construction work. But yeah, no, this is a fun show. I mean, this is a nice morning show to get you set for the rest of the day, whether it be you leaving the collective, go over to WrestleCon afterwards, or even to AT&T Stadium. This is a nice little pick me up to start your day.
Absolutely. Dark Sheik and Paro should be a lot of fun too. And you know what? Edith Surreal, rest in peace, going up against Max the Impaler. I've already written Edith's obituary. We liked her a lot.
We liked her a lot, yeah. Rest in peace. I'll go back up and we'll talk about For the Culture here. That's going to be Friday at 3 p.m. This whole card, this has a lot of interesting matchups. Your main event death match between Billy Dixon and Hoodfoot, which is a couple years in the making here. Another one to really look at, though, is Hitmakers, the former Hit Row, taking on Shane Taylor Promotions. O'Shea Edwards and Shane Taylor himself will be in attendance here. I'm looking forward to this show. It's always a good collection of everyone, out there who really GCW needs to do better with bringing in more of these guys, more of them throughout the year.
Sure.
It shouldn't just be AJ Gray. Billy Dixon's finally getting a look on commentary, unfortunately, in JCW, but he should be on GCW shows. There's a lot of good talent that get overlooked, and it's nice to see this show come to place. But this should be something we see more often across all of the independents, not just GCW, but
Sure.
it'd be nice to see with them.
I'm gonna throw in Bloodsport 8 because this is right up my alley. You know what? I think that since it started, when it started, I think Bloodsport 1, 2, 3 were really good. Mm-hmm. And then there was a bit of a lull, right? Where it's sort of like, were we bringing in the right people to do this? Were people approaching this the right way? And I feel like Bloodsport 7, which was Suzuki versus Dickinson in the main event, right? I thought that was a strong show. You had Tiger Ruas versus Josh Barnett 2. You had Yuya and Davey Richards, which was, in my memory, really good. Alex Coughlin and Tom Lawler.
Yeah, Lawler. Yeah.
Lots of good stuff. So now I feel like Bloodsport 8 has all the right elements, plus a lot of star power, right? I think there's a lot of people that people are really excited to see here. You got John Moxley and Biff Busick. You've got, which is something I'm unnaturally excited for. Minoru Suzuki and Chris Dickinson. Josh Barnett and Jonah, which I don't know how that's going to go, right? John Hennigan and Simon Gotch, which is pretty dope. Alex Coughlin is going to die in the hands of Slade, which is a shame. I liked him too. And Masha Slamovich and Janai Kai. Janai Kai, I've been saying since the first time I saw that woman throw a kick. Like, she's legit. She's the real deal. She knows what she's doing. And Masha, I'm gonna keep saying this until I'm blue in the mouth. I think she is the best wrestler out there on the independent circuit right now. I don't think there's anyone who works so consistently, so often, so good as she does. And I'm excited to see these two get some good old-fashioned shoot work wrestling going. This should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for this card. I'm really, really am.
I will say I'm excited for the former John Morrison, John Hennigan, Johnny Caballero, Johnny Superstar, Johnny whatever Nitro. He's going by this weekend, facing Simon Gotch here. This is a very interesting match, and I know Barnett said he's going back to his high school wrestling days, but it's been a while. Let's see how that plays out. I'll be pressing exclamation point Oreo for those in the Discord who understand what I mean by that. I'm gonna just jump into two shows real quick. It's the new Texas Pro shows over the weekend.
Yes.
These will eventually be up on IWTV. They are not airing live. A lot of good matches between these two shows. One thing that is really boggling my mind is, Alex Price is two shows that he's booked for: JCW versus LA Fights and the Till I Die. Cowboys from Hell on April 2nd for New Texas. Only two shows. This is a guy that should be shown more on the independent this weekend. He is taking over in the Northeast, and he really wants to push himself out there more. He should be showcased throughout, up and down.
I agree.
You got Lufisto versus Hyon. That should be really good for night one of their shows. Violence is Forever versus Fly Death. And let's go into their second day show. We got Shaza McKenzie taking on Heather Monroe. I just want to say, book Heather for more shows. She lost out on good quality bookings because of the reality of wrestling cancellations. A lot of good women lost out of a ton of bookings during that weekend.
Can I just jump in here for a sec? Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead. No, please.
But the thing is that I was looking forward to the Sherry Martel Classic because the tournament that they were that they were going to run. Because look, anyone who listens to whatever I do know that I really like tournament wrestling, and I felt like they had a good combination of really established stars like Hyan, like Vert Vixen. To anyone who's watched AEW, she was all over the Dark shows early on. In the early stages of Dark, she was all over the place, and she's improved tremendously since. You have
He's
Heather
been
Monroe
making
here.
rounds in AAW as well.
Yeah, exactly. AQA. So, you know, you had this good collection of stars to draw your attention, and then you had a whole bunch of people that were there that were just waiting to be discovered, that I was excited to see who these people were or how they were going to mix up with the others, right? And they pulled it. Not only did they did Reality of Wrestling pull the show, they pulled all of their shows for the weekend. So there's tons of people who lost out on bookings. Heather Monroe was on Twitter saying, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent now. This fucking sucks, Shawn. It sucks.
Oh,
because
it does.
4 days before your event, 3 days. Because they put out their tweet like at 1 a.m.
Yeah, like really late at night.
That's shitty, man.
That is very shitty, especially like a couple hours after like Heather Monroe, Kelsey Regan, a couple others like, you know, hinted something was going on.
Yeah.
And all the common denominator that I had was, oh, it's Reality of Wrestling, because it was both of them that mentioned it. A group like Culture Inc. was only booked for that show, one of those shows during the weekend.
Insane.
They're another name that should be booked everywhere. It's upsetting. It's embarrassing that we still have this going on in the independents. Because
what makes it worse, it's WrestleMania weekend.
Right.
That's what makes this egregious, because you know these women would have hustled to get bookings anywhere else had these events been pulled a couple of weeks, even 2 weeks ago. It still would have been frustrating, but you would have been like, oh, okay, I'm sure they'll manage, kind of thing, right? But 4 days in, and some of them have already traveled, they're already there. There's no such thing as a refundable flight anymore, Shawn. You think Airbnb is going to refund you Dallas over a weekend? Come on. This sucks. It sucks. And on top of the money and the traveling and all that shit, and then I promise I'll end rant upcoming. On top of all of that, there's a lot of these women who just want the vehicle to be seen, to be put in this platform where everyone who's into wrestling turns their eyes onto what's going on, what indie shows are putting on that weekend. That's how you get out there. And that's why there's a lot of people who work a lot of different shows, which is why we're wondering why Alec Price isn't doing anymore. That's what sucks on top of it all, is that there's a lot of these women who just aren't going to get the visibility because if you look at how things are booked, there's the Mission Pro show. I saw one, and it's slipping my mind right now, but I saw one other all-women show, and I think it's a Texas promotion that's putting it on.
Yeah, it was DFW All Pro Good Morning Rise and Shine on the Sunday of WrestleMania Night 2 at 9 a.m.
So you see, it's not as if the opportunities for women's shows during this weekend were all there to begin with, and that's something. It's a bit of a sucky trend that could be reversed, you know. I think it stinks. I really think it stinks, and I think that ROW owes them a little more than we pulled the plug on it. Sorry, we're refunding everyone. Cool, but they owe them.
Yeah, they owe the talent that, you know, is missing out on such a big opportunity to get themselves out there. And I know it's a stacked card already, but I hope Rosa finds a way to put at least some of these women on Bangers Only on Saturday of WrestleMania weekend.
Which is the show that we're both looking forward to.
Yeah, we're both looking forward to. I know you and Kristen are going to be podcasting about this show extensively itself. So there's a lot of good matches here. I would say, personally, for me, I'm looking forward to Rosa and Trish Adora. I think this could be a good, you know, eye-opening match for Tony Khan, for Ring of Honor, for, you know, AEW, whatever he wants to do, to give a good look at somebody like a Trish Adora. Holiday versus Lufisto, come on, that's going to be wild. That's for the Mission Pro title. There's a lot of good things going on here. But yeah, I know. Listen to Warren, Kristen, talk about that a little bit more.
We'll have a podcast that we're going to be doing for PWI actually. So that'll be coming up probably even tomorrow by the time that we're done recording this.
I do
Uh,
have breaking news.
and just very quickly, I agree with you with the Thunder Rosa Trish Adora thing. I think it's Trish's biggest match of her career, right,
Mhm.
as it stands right now, because Thunder Rosa has never been this high profile, and Tony Khan should do something with her. Trish Adora was in the revitalized women's division for Ring of Honor before it all happened. But
I
go
do
ahead
have
with the
breaking news.
Yes.
Buff Bagwell has entered the clusterfuck.
Well, of course, right?
Right.
I think it's perfect. I honestly think it's a perfect booking to get his feet wet, get him in front of fans again. He's got a good buzz going. Of course, Janela's gonna call him, right?
You know who else Janela should call since he lost out on a booking?
David
Rob Van
Bixensky.
Dam.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I just have one more quick one. It's the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show. Busick Suzuki, Ishii Thatcher, Mia Yim, Athena, Mike Bailey, Bandito. This whole card is fantastic.
It's nuts.
The loser does the dishes match between Taya and John Hennigan just added. This card up and down is gonna be great. Also on Fight.
And had pissed off a lot of people when they were building to the match between them both, right? Because Morrison was like, oh, we go, here, they were doing some back and forth with the dishwasher, and people were getting mad at Morrison. It was like, dude, why are you doing this to your? What kind? Are you sexist? What is this all about? What are you doing, man? Perfectly worked. I liked it, but we didn't talk about the top indie match of the weekend, Ring of Honor Super Card of Honor.
Super Con of Connor.
Kind of Connor.
Yes, let's.
No, I'm joking. Look, I'm semi joking. Is it an independent show?
At this point, I'm gonna say
not.
yes because this is still technically under Sinclair. I know Tony Khan's fingerprints are all over this, but this is still a Sinclair show. If we want to be realistic, Tony Khan doesn't really get the keys to the kingdom until April 2nd, the day after.
Sure. And he outright, and I mean, look, this card is it rules. Like, honestly, there's a lot of good stuff on it for a guy who came out and said, I don't want to do a Super Card of Honor during WrestleMania weekend, but since people like, he didn't want to do it.
No, he didn't. He said that, this isn't ideal. This is a dumb idea to compete against WrestleMania, which, is funny because a lot of people go for these indie shows now compared to WrestleMania. I mean, obviously,
no, I know what you mean, but
you know what I mean.
I think it's more of a situation. I think he said that, but I think the real motivation is
he doesn't really want to compete against Rampage.
He doesn't want his banners running under WrestleMania to give the impression that, Tony Khan can't get his shows off the ground without the WrestleMania banner.
Which is fair. And, to put in perspective too, like I said, this is the day before the sale was announced. They announced Gresham and Bandito. They announced the Briscoes in action. They announced Swerve versus Alex Zane as, matches that were happening. Really, the only thing that Khan has done so far was give us an interim ROH women's title match, which I better see the winner of this match challenge Deanna and like 2 hours later at that Impact show.
I don't know.
Don't play this.
Hopefully that's what, but it's for the Rey of the Reyes.
No, it's for either or.
Are you sure?
It's the champ challenge. So the challenger challenges Deanna for whatever title.
I thought it was for the Reign of the Reyes.
No, it's for both. Okay. No, it's okay. So I want to see that just so we don't overplay a situation like we did with Sammy and Cody, but at the same time too, what Sinclair previous regime is doing with Bandito and Gresham. Granted, this is just like this is the coronation of John Gresham as TK's guy for this Ring of Honor. Briscoe's FTR, I honestly don't know which way that could go. Does he listen to Warner if that's the case?
I'm starting to like. I don't know how much stock we can still put into that. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
Warner doesn't want the Briscoes on any. I don't know. Like, they've been on their own redemption run. Like, they apologized for what feels like the 5th time, the 7th time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Taking pictures with Pollo Del Mar.
I will say that Effie wouldn't
coming
have
out
worked with
saying,
them.
no, Mark Briscoe's cool. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
at some point, you know, here's the thing. The thing with an apology is that you're not entitled to, you don't have to accept it. That's the good thing about an apology, right?
Right. Yeah.
But as far as I go, since I don't have a pony in this race, right? You know, aside of the fact that, wow, the Briscoes that's kind of against my values kind of thing. If I'm seeing a dude like Effie, and I'm seeing someone like Pollo Del Mar being like, I'm cool with the Briscoes. Well, I'm cool with the Briscoes too. It's like, but ultimately, they can apologize as much as they want. If someone doesn't want to accept it, that's fair as well.
That's fair, yeah. One match that I think truly is up in the air is Josh Woods versus Wheeler Yuta for the pure title. I do see in my heart of hearts a Yuta win to, continue that growth that he's going to be showing with the Blackpool Violence Brigade or whatever they're called.
That's actually a better name than what they came up with, which is the Blackpool Fight Club. The Blackpool Violence Brigade is actually better, but I think your correlation is there, and I think Yuta is going to come out a winner here. Although it could be Josh Woods as well. He's done a couple of darks and had really good showings on dark.
Yeah, he won. He's won on a couple darks. Also, in a match that was scheduled for Terminus 1, Jay Lethal and Lee Moriarty finally face off.
Well, it's a Jay Lethal match. What are you gonna do?
Go to the bathroom.
There you go. This is 100% editorializing, by the way. You can enjoy a Jay Lethal match if you like. I don't have to. There we go. Look, we just threw it out there. It's going to be a big weekend. Like, we're going to have to really hone in on what we really thought was exciting for the show next week, because, of course, that's all we're going to be talking about. Going to try to catch up as much as possible on everything that weekend. But look, there's a lot of great stuff. There's just a ton of great stuff. It's hard to go wrong. I think, the new Texas shows they're crazy stacked. I know everyone always hones in on the collective, and there's good reasons for that. That's not an issue, but the Texas promotions are all banding together, and they're putting on some extraordinary shows. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Texas these days that really deserves our attention much more. So I'm looking forward to all of this, just like I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again here next week with Shawn and I. Shawn, before we go, what do you got coming up, sir? What's on the menu?
So yesterday, Monday, I released my Super Card of Connor preview, talking about the 5 matches that were announced on Saturday when I recorded it. Sadly, I didn't know about the interim title match. Otherwise, I would have talked about it. And then, obviously, I'll be watching Super Card of Honor and podcasting about that for Pure, part of the Countdown Podcast Network. Looking forward to that. And
in the description.
Yeah. And I think we'll see you again on Thursday, right?
Correct, as John Morrison would once say. I will indeed be back on Thursday right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes to record the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper. What have I got lined up? I'm going to talk about Sasha Banks. Of course, we always go and have a deep dive on the previous night's Dynamite and full WrestleMania preview from the big show, the most stupendous one. 2 nights. I'll be breaking down everything and having a wonderful time doing it. So be sure to join us. And if you can't, of course, you can catch the replay. What? Yeah, I will. Trust me.
Okay.
You can catch the replay as well, because there's going to be blood sport. There's going to be spring break. Like the festivities have already started. Everyone's counter-programming the juggernaut that is the Mr. Warren Hayes show. So what are you going to do? You can just sit back and enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. But I want to thank you all for joining Shawn and I today. Leave a like on YouTube, some reviews, some stuff on if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application. I can't tell you enough how I appreciate all the support. Thank you, and thank you, Shawn, again for being
Thank
here
you.
this week.
Enjoy the wrestling, everyone.